Hey guys, very good morning to all of you. I hope you're all doing fine. So I came across a lot of demands. People were actually asking me that I should actually make a tutorial on Regression Suite Automated Tool. So here it is. So the agenda is that I'll be covering each and everything that we needs to get started with the RSAT tool, and like I'll be covering everything from scratch, how to install it, what are the possible loopholes that you'll find, the important points, the important checkpoints, and finally how to create tests and test cases and how to validate them, run. I mean, like, if you don't know anything about RSET, I think this is the video you should go through. And so yeah, I'll try to cover as much as possible. So, okay, so let's get started with RSET. The first thing is RSET is a tool which is going to be installed on the laptop from where the consultant is going to test all of those test cases. Okay, so in short, we must know how to install the RSET, whether it is a technical consultant or a functional consultant. I think that is this is more the responsibility of the Dynamics 365 infra team, but still, since we are consultants, so I think we should know a little bit about installation and configuration. So I've already installed this RSET tool on my laptop. As you can see, the application is running right now. But anyway, I'll walk you through the steps of installing the RSET application as well. Okay, so the first thing is you navigate to the download link of the Regression Suite automated tool. So I'll put the this link in the description section. Okay, so basically you have to do is you have to download this tool. It's approximately 60 MB. It's a small lightweight application which uses the Selenium drivers also. So once you download this tool, so after down, so you can just click on download, and this file will get downloaded. Okay, so I think that you can do on your own. So after downloading this tool, so you will come across with this sort of a screen. Okay, but we still have to provide additional configuration settings. So the configuration settings are present in this settings icon. So I'll not show the settings right now because of security issues, but definitely I'll walk you through all the steps that you will need. Okay, so if you do not have an infra team, so I think you can configure it yourself also. So I'll just walk you through these steps. So first step is to download the Regression Suite automated tool, and the second step is to generate few security tokens and RSET certificates and all of that. So anyway, this is the second step. Basically, you have to log on to your Azure DevOps. So once you log on to the Azure DevOps, you will find a screen like that. Okay, and then you'll have to click on this user icon, and there you'll get an option to generate the RSET token. So this is the first prerequisite. You have to generate the RSET token. Very important. So once you do that, now the second step will be that you'll have to, so this is the screen where we are going to create an uh, RSET token. Okay, so you can put on any name here, your organization, it will show in drop down, and you can have the expiration date for that. So right now, these are like 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. So for now, I've just selected 90, or you can also make it custom and make sure that it expires after a year or so. You can give the full access so that you do not have any privilege issues while running the RSET tool. If you click on create, so a token will be generated here. So I already have a token generated here. So if I click on create, so the next screen will pop up something like this. So basically this is the key. So it's a clipboard copy. So you can just click here and paste it on a notepad, because this is the value of RSET token that we will be needing in the configuration settings. All right. So once you do that, your token will appear here describing the full access. So this is the first prerequisite. You should have the RSET token. The second thing is RSET certificate. So you have to download the RSET certificate for the environment in which you are going to test. Let me say I'm going to test on environment XYZ. So basically for that environment, you will have to download the RSET certificate, which you can easily download. Plus, you should have the permissions to download that certificate also. So you'll navigate to the LCS page. you will navigate to the exact virtual machine, and from there you will have this option of downloading the RSET certificate. If you do not see this option, it means that the privilege is not assigned to you. So you can ask your IT team that either assign the privilege, or just hand over this whole installation and configuration process to the IT team. They'll do it for you, and you can directly get started with creating test plans, recordings, and each and everything. So once you download that certificate, so a zip file will be downloaded. Okay. So then you have to unzip that file. And how to install the RSET certificate? It's pretty simple. So I'll post this link also. So it's written in details. So this is the RSET a page. So Regression Suite Automated Tools, a lot of things are there. So in the section of installation and configuration, you'll basically see how you have to install this. Was zip file will be downloaded, and there will be two files. So one .cer, which is a certificate file. Another file will be a pfx file. So each and every instruction, these are crystal clear instructions. You will not face any sort of issues. So by now you have two things. So one prerequisite was the personal access token. Second prerequisite is to download the RSET certificate on the computer from where you want to start testing. I mean, on whichever computer the RSET application is installed, so on that computer, you have to download the RSET certificate, install it. And once you are done with this, I think you are done with all the prerequisites. Okay. So this was all about the download, installation, and configuration of RSET so that it can run properly on your PC. After doing that, what we have to do is, so these are the settings. So as I told you, I've blurred out all these important settings since because of a privilege issue. But anyway, so once you click on this secure on this settings page, then these are all the instructions that you have to fill. You have to fill the Azure DevOps URL. So these are the parameters that you'll be asking from the IT team. So they'll give it to you. This is the access token. So whatever I said, that you have to copy this value. So this value, just copy it on the notepad. And as soon as you paste here, both of these things will not show up, but you can click on test connection and a prompt will come here, an info log will come here. Connection to the Azure DevOps successful, which means now this RSET tool can actually connect to the your Azure DevOps account, and from there you can have the project name and also the test plans. So there are test plans. So our test plan is a list of plan. Let me say test plan for my legal entity XYZ. Within the test plans, you have something called test suites. A test suite is nothing but a combination of various test cases. So here, guys, I would like to tell you that if you already do not know how to navigate to DevOps and how to create a test plan or a test case, then I'll highly recommend you to first go and learn that. It will take maximum 5 to 6 minutes. It's pretty much easy how to navigate to Azure DevOps. There are a ton of tutorials on YouTube so that you can use. Anyway, so I'm assuming that you know that there is something called a test plan and there is something called a test case, and how you can create those test cases in the Azure DevOps. Okay, so once the connection is successful, then you can see all the listing of your projects and all the listing of your test plans. So you can simply select your test plan. And if you cannot see any of these things, whatever I'm telling you, it means that you have the privilege issue. So you will have to talk with your IT team that you want to have the read access or the write access, because even not everyone can access the test plans until and unless they are given explicit permissions, okay, by the infra team. So in short, this is how the RSET tool will connect to your environment. So once this is done, then there is something called hostname. Hostname is nothing, basically the URL of the test environment. SOP hostname is very much similar to that. So all these things are you can see it in the LCS details, the VM details. So you can have all these things in VM details if you know how to navigate to that, or just ask your IT team. They'll give you admin user. This is your user ID from which you are usually logged in. The thumbprint. So as I said, once the installation of certificates is done, I was talking about this certificate. So once the installation of certificate is done, if you click on the thumbprint, you'll be able to see the newly installed certificate. So you just have to select that certificate, and that is all you have to do. So make sure your certificate install, it happens properly. I've already told you how to install each and everything. There are two files, and the everything, all the details are actually mentioned here, and I'll make sure to put both of these links in the description section. So once you do that, so all the settings are now basically done. The company name is nothing but the legal entity in which you are going to test your test plans. Okay. So in the end, we have the working directory. So this is a working directory which you can specify on your local PC. So here I've specified CR set and local files. So basically, this is the place where the RSET tool is going to create copies of copy like folder for every test case. In every test case, it is going to create some sort of file, some sort of Excel, or some sort of DLLs, and each and everything. So this is how the local processing is going to be done with the RSET tool. So basically, this is the local storage, the place where RSET is going to generate few files, and it's going to test like each and everything with the help of these files. And these are created for individual test case. Okay. So I think I'm clear on that. And one more thing, guys, running RSET is very easy, but if you haven't configured the certificates properly, you can get a lot of errors like I got a few errors like at least one security token is missing, at least one security something, some exception is there. So the first thing to keep in mind is, even if this test connection says connection to Azure DevOps is successful, it still doesn't mean that you will not get errors here. Until and unless your thumbprint is correct, your certificate installation is correct, you can get the two errors which I got 90% of the time. The first thing was cannot connect to the finance and operations environment, which means definitely there is either there's the issue in host name or SOP host name or the admin user. But usually if each and everything is right, it is the issue in certificate. Your certificate was not installed properly. Second reason, some recent changes by the infra team in your testing environment, maybe some database rollback or anything as such, it happened, because of which you will have to repeat the certificate installation process again. Because I found these errors during my testing, and so I'm sharing all these issues with you, because people can get confused that we did everything right, what's wrong is happening now. Okay. So that is so these are few things that you must keep in mind before using the RSET tool. Okay, so I think enough with all of these, and I think we can jump on to how to use this RSET tool, how to create recordings and each and everything. So the first thing, so this is the a screenshot of the Azure DevOps environment or the test plans. So basically, I'm on test plans right now. I created a testing plan. I created a suite within a testing plan, and inside that suite, I created few test cases like create a vendor. So the idea here is that I'll demonstrate you how to create a new vendor, how to create a new item, then finally how to create a purchase order and link all of these three together. So every time when the RSET will run, all these three test cases, they will execute together, and what parameters you need to change in order to make sure that the test plans do not crash unnecessarily. Okay, so this is the idea. So if you can do this, then I think you can chain any number of test cases. So finally, I'm assuming that you know how to create a test case in Azure DevOps. The important thing here is that whatever the name of your test case is, the same name should be the name of recording. So I'll show you how to create the recording in Dynamics 365. And once that recording is created, you can basically download the .ax extension .xml. So basically, we have to download the developer recording. So you download that developer recording, you create a test case, then in the attachments section, you click on add attachment, and you just have to save this. Either you can save this with the same name as that of test case, or you can just save it as recordings.xml. So both ways it will work. A good idea is to create with the same name. This is how the software is designed. Otherwise, it will cause unnecessary issues. Once this is done, so all we have to do is, so I think now I've laid the foundation that what all we are going to do. So I'll start by creating a simple 2 or 3 test cases. We'll download their recordings, upload them, and let us see how the RSET will work. Okay. So this is my RSET tool. So once all the settings are perfect and connections are established, so what I can do is I can click on reload load test plans, which is going to load the test plans, or reload test suite, which is going to reload each and everything. So let me click on reload test suite. So it's reloading the test suites, and it is saying this action will download test execution and Excel test files from Azure DevOps. Because I've already uploaded all these files to the Azure DevOps. Local changes will be lost. You may not get all of these warnings, but anyway, I'm just clicking yes. So basically, I just want to reload these test plans. Okay. So this reloading, whenever you've changed anything, so it's a good idea to reload everything before starting the execution of test cases. Okay, so so you can see I already have a few test cases already uploaded. Their recordings are also uploaded. But anyway, I'm going to create a new test case. Let me say create item 2, create vendor 2, create PO2. So we'll chain them together and we'll make sure that they are running fine. All right. So let me start by creating the test cases. Okay. The test recordings. All right. So here I am in my the Dynamics 365 environment. So the first thing is whenever you start creating a test case, make sure you are on the home page. These are some good ideas which the RSET team wants us to do. So anyway, I'll click on the task recorder. And now we can see that we have fewer options. We can click on create recording. Let me say that I want to create item. So create item. Let me say 2. This is my name. So I'll start this. Okay. So now the task recorder is started, and what we can do is we can start creating the item now. So I'll navigate to the modules. Let me say the product information management. I'll click on released products. Whatever we are going to do here, we can see the steps will be recorded. So we can see every step is recorded. So I'll click on a new. There may be some customizations here, but not to worry. So, okay, so I'll just enter my product number. Let me say ZZVK item 001. So I can copy this and I can put the product name, search name, everything. Now, guys, just remember, I want to save few variables. Why? Because see, this test case, it will definitely create an item, but I want to link this test case with my another test case. Let me say I'm going to create a purchase order later on. And in that purchase order, I want this item to be added as the purchase order line item. So what will I have to do? So I will have to save some variable, which means I'm going to save the item number. So I'll click on item number, task recorder. We do have few options here, so I'll click on copy. So these things you have to keep in mind before. There are certain things that you will have to copy so that you can use these variables later on. Okay, so once this is done, now I'm going to select the item model group. Let me select the item model group. Let me select the mm, item group. Let me select the storage dimension. Okay, this looks good. Let me select the tracking dimension as none. All right, so every step is being recorded here. The inventory units by default, they are each, so I think I'm fine with that. I want to update the purchase price. Let me say 125. I want to update the sales price as 140. And if I click on OK, so yeah, I think I can click on OK. All right, so my item is created. Every step is now recorded here. I can validate that all the values I've specified, and I think this item is good to go as far as the transactions on this item is concerned. Okay, So now I can do is all I have to do is I can stop. So this will stop my recording. So if I click on save to PC, this is going to download the file in another extension which we can upload later on and replay these recordings. But for now, since I want to use it in RSAT, I'll have to click on save as developer recording. So I'll save this recording on, let me save on my desktop. Let me say create item 2. Yeah, looks good. I'll click on save. So this is now saved. Now, similarly, I want to return to the main menu. So one more thing, guys, we do have a few options here also. We can edit recording, which means if we click on edit recording, we will upload the recording that we've downloaded and we can play that recording. We can edit, we can remove, or we can add some new stuff. So feel free to check out those things. They are pretty simple to do. I think they really do not need a session for all of these things. So now my item is created. Cool. Now we'll navigate back to my home page and now I'll click on create recording and I want to create a vendor now. So create a vendor. I'll say create vendor two. Okay. So once I click on start, let me close this. So I can go to accounts payable. I can go to vendors. I can go to all vendors. So now I have to click on new. The steps are recorded here. So let me say, okay, so one more thing. Now, since I will be creating a purchase order with this new vendor and new item, so I want to save the vendor account also because in my third recording in which I'm going to create a purchase order. So we have to design our test case in this way that every time we will execute all of these three together in the first, it will create an item. It will take that value of item and create the PO. And then also it has to take the value of the created vendor. So I'm going to save my vendor variable also. So I'll click on vendor account, I'll click on task recorder, and I can click on copy. So note the value in the vendor account field. Cool. So now I'm going to specify the name. Let me say ZZVVV and VENDOR1. You can give any name. I'm just giving it so that I can remember. So once we do that, now we can specify the group. Let me say the group is domestic. Okay, I think I should add address information also, will be good. Anyway, I'll be needing a delivery address to create a purchase order. So let me click on add and okay, we do have some issues here. Must be called, let me try this again. There are a few customizations going on in this system. I don't know. Okay, I think we are good to go now. Let me put the name as address here. I want to use this for business. Yeah, looks good. Country of origin, write whatever you want. Let me select a temporary zip code so that I do not have to fill all this information. Let me say CP 33 by 45, whatever you want to say. Okay, once this is done, I think, yeah, I think looks like a good address. Okay, we'll click on OK. So now we do have the address for our vendor. So in this, what we did is we saved the vendor variable. So our vendor is now created. We can click on save, although this is not a mandatory step. I'll navigate back to the home page and I'll click on stop. So now my second recording is completed. I'll save this as developer recording. Create vendor 2. Yeah, this looks good. I'll click on save. Okay, so now I want to create a purchase order. So I'll again return to main menu. I'll create a recording and I'll say create purchase order. I'll click on start and I'll navigate to the procurement and sourcing. I'll go to purchase orders, all purchase orders. Okay, so I'll click on new. Let me select the vendor that I just created. Okay, I will have to specify the site and warehouse. Whatever is in your environment, you can specify that. I'll specify this one. I want to make sure the purchase order is type purchase order. So basically I can click on task recorder and validate this. Validate current value. Validation means if anything else is showing in that column, maybe due to some certain parameters update, then the system will throw an error and the RSAT application will make that test case as fail. So validation, a good use of validation can be, suppose you want to test the pricing of certain items on certain order lines, and you have created a trade agreement general. So the price should be, let me say, $40 for a particular item for a particular quantity. So you can right click on that and click on validate. So whenever the RSET will run, it will make sure that the value is exactly what you specified. If the values are differing, like if they are different, then RSET will throw an error and it will say the test case fails. So copy is going to copy the variables and validate is going to validate the value. So these are the two most important things that we do in RSET testing. So I think I can create a simple purchase order now. I'll click on OK. All right. So now I can enter the item number. So let me enter the item number. I want to enter the quantity of 50, let us say. Unit price is 125. So I've actually specified the unit price on the item. So by default it will come. But let me say the unit price is supposed to come from a certain trade agreement. So basically what I'll do is to add to that, I'll click here, I'll click on task recorder and I can click on validate and I'll say validate current value. So what this will do is, if any type of trade agreement, let me say, is posted before I start testing and the value is not 125 here, the RSET will fail this test case because this is the exact value it was expecting. All right. So this is the use of validate. But I think this is sufficient for now. One more thing. Let me say I want to create a fourth test case where I will confirm this purchase order. So what will I have to do for that? Very simple. I'll have to copy the purchase order number. So let me do that also, although we are not going to do anything. Okay, it's throwing some sort of warning. A vendor code is not authorized. Not to worry. I don't want to do anything with that. Let me say task recorder and copy. So in future, if I want to confirm this PO or do any sort of transaction, let me receive this PO. So I will be needing this to link it to the fourth test case. But I think this much is enough for now. I'll click on save. I'll navigate to the page and I'll click on stop. Save as developer recording. Perfect. Create purchase order. Okay, looks good. Save. All right, so now we have created all our recordings. So these are the three recordings. Create item, create, let me say, create purchase order 2. Okay. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is, now I have two ways. Either I can log on to my test plans and upload from there, which I assume you already know how to do that. So instead of that, what I'll do is, instead of doing that, I can directly upload using the RSET functionality also. So this is another cool thing about RSET. You do not have to do all of that. Let me select this. So there's a this is a very simple way. Actually, I can just click on create new test case. I'll select the test case name. Let me give it the same name, create item to, I'll add the attachment, create item to, I'll click on save. And what this is going to do is, this is going to upload your attachment, create a test case, save that test case, and upload that attachment in this test case. So this is superb. So basically, this is now a new test case is created in the Azure DevOps. Also, the recording file is attached there. So this is a lot helpful. I mean, it just works perfect, you know, almost 80% efficiency. Otherwise, we'll have to do all of those steps in the Azure DevOps. Let me, for the second one, let me copy this. I'll copy the test case, or instead of doing this, you can directly log on to the Azure DevOps and just select create test case and do all of those things. Okay. But I found this to be a lot more interesting because it's really saving a lot of time. Just add and save. That is all we have to do. Similarly, I'll upload my third recording, create new test case, create purchase order to, add this, create purchase order to, open, save. Okay, if you do not want to follow this procedure, it's totally fine. Then all you have to do is navigate to the test plans, create the test cases, upload the recordings, and finally you will have to reload the test suite again or load the test plan so that you can have these new plans. So I think we are done with this. Now what I'll do is I'll click on all of these three and I will have the option of generating the test execution and parameter files. So what this will do is this is going to generate the parameters file as well as the test execution files. Okay, if you select here, it's not going to generate the parameter files, which means it is assuming that you already have those parameter files and you do not want to modify them. Maybe from previous testing you already have those files. So yes, we have this option also. Upgrade parameter files, which means RSAT 1.1 or some prior version of this tool which had actually a lot of problems. So if you already have those files, so it can upgrade those parameter files because the old parameter file was something different. So this is how, but anyway, we have to select the first option. So now it is going to generate new artifacts. And if the generation of all of these files is successful, we'll get a green tick here, which means our files are successfully generated, the execution files as well as the parameter files. So I think, okay, cool. We have these things here. Now, the first thing, guys, is before running this test case, we can directly select all of these three and we can click on run, but it's going to throw an error. Any idea why? I'll tell you. The item is created, but if you do remember, we gave a specific value to the item. See, whatever we saved the item ID, it's saved in this variable. But if you look at the test case steps, it's going to show everything. So we already know that this item is created and we know that we cannot have two item numbers in one legal entity which are same. So it will throw an error and the RSET, it will fail. The test case will fail. So let me add another item number. So basically these values can be customized. So now it's going to create a new item and a new product name with these variables, okay, with this name. But if you do not want to change them again and again, a better idea will be to use a sort of formula. Just use a formula here. Let me say the combination of date or and some static text or something like that, like item plus something date. So that sort of thing also works, but only ensure that whenever you are putting a formula here, make sure it is it's having apostrophe before the formula. So now you can add all of those formulas, concat, and whatever you want to do that. Remember to put apostrophe. That is a kind of like a prerequisite. Otherwise, RSET will interpret this as something else. But don't worry, I think we are done with this. Perfect. So it's going to create a new item with this item ID. Okay. If you want to specify a different purchase price, sales price, it's totally fine. I can write whatever I want. But remember that I have to validate this price also. So I'll have to change that validate thing also. I don't want to do that for now. But anyway, This is done. Similarly, if I look at my vendor, I'll have to change my vendor ID also because we cannot have same vendor ID. So vendor ID is also saved. And if you look clearly, the IDs are saved. This number is exactly like that of the test case. So one test case will take value from the previous test case. So it's saving these variables in this way. Anyway, this was just an observation. So I'll click on test case steps. Let me select vendor 2. Let me select a street. Let it be anything else. Let me say KALKA Kalkaji. Not an issue. It's just a place. Okay. So I'll click on save. All right. So now the create purchase order. And now I want a specific vendor and the specific item. I want the item from the first test case and the vendor from the second test case. So you can see this is where we are going to specify things. Vendor account. So vendor account, I don't want this vendor account. I want whatever vendor was created by the RSAT in the second test case. I want that account, the newly created. So what it will do is we will therefore I saved this variable. So I will go in the create vendor parameter file and I'll copy this thing. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here, which means now whatever vendor will be created in second step, that same newly created vendor will be selected for creation of purchase order in the third step. And item also, I do not want the item which I created earlier. Instead, I want the item which I created just now. So I'll click this. I think all is good with this file. Let me open this file again so that I can copy the item ID parameters. And let me copy the item ID. The item ID was saved here. Copy and let me paste it here. Okay, yeah, item number. So I think now we are good to go. So this is how the linking of test cases is going to happen. So we can see that we have to validate this also. We have to validate the unit price, which is equals to. So we do have a good functionality of operator. You may not see the operator here because in RSET application, if you navigate to the settings tab and then the second tab from there, you will get a boolean of whether you want to use the operator or not. If you select that boolean, then only you can use the operator. Otherwise, by default, this will not show. And the good use of operator can be, guys, that we can write the mathematical if but here. For example, if I say less than 30, then also this test case will hold true. For example, the validate price equals to 125. If I say less than 140, then also it will hold true. So less than, greater than, all sorts of those comparisons can take place. But you will have to enable the operator in the RSET option settings menu. Okay. Anyway, this was good enough. I'll click on save. Let me close all of these and let me now run all these test cases together. Let us see what it's going to do. Hopefully they will run without any issues. So I'll click on run now. And we can see the playback test case create item 2 is started. Let us see if it's going to make them as pass or fail. So it's waiting. Okay, so this window is launched. So you will see this thing and we can see that Chrome is now, I'm not touching the mouse or anything. It's Chrome is being automatically controlled by this test software. Guys, if you are not able to see this screen again, there may be some configuration issue. So reach out to infra team. But as I said, if the token information is correct, the installation of certificate is correct, and you have the privileges, you should not be getting this error. So now this is running the first test case, which is creating the test item. Okay, so as you can see, uh, it's going to create the item with the variable that we specified. So see, now it's saying item 002. So whatever we modified, it's going to create that variable only. So initially it was item 001, now it's 002. So it created everything, and if there will be no issue, it will make that test case as pass. So this is how the RSAT actually, it imitates each and everything. It's actually doing this creation and each and everything in the environment. So it's going to take the same amount of time. So I think now it's done and we can see the first result here should pop up as pass. Hopefully it will do since there were no errors. And now it will try to execute. See, we got that. Now it will try to execute the second test case. So it will pop that window again. Okay, so this is the second test case. So here the RSET will try to create a vendor with that new vendor ID that we specified in the parameters file. Also, guys, there is one more important thing that I want to share, that you do have options in RSET where you can set the timers between each test case, like 30 seconds or 45 seconds. If you are dealing with workflow execution, it's a good idea to set the time as 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Maybe the batch processing will take place. So feel free to explore those options as well. They are super simple, so they do not need any special session. Just telling you that I tested this with few workflows. Just set the time to 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and they'll work fine. So it's trying to create the vendor. So we can see it created a new vendor with vendor 2, and it will try to add the new address that we specified in the street. So this is the new thing. Now try to save this and exit from the. All right, so our second test case is running. See, I'm not even touching mouse or anything. So basically you can chain a good amount of test cases here, a pretty good amount. Let me say 14 to 15 test cases, and just leave them for half an hour. So this is really going to reduce a lot of efforts from the testing team. So it's a good idea. A lot of companies are using it, but also RSET is not fully matured yet. There are a lot of issues yet. But for now, we can say if you have 100 test cases and if 90% of the features are not changing every now and then, I think 90% of the test cases will run without any issue. It's really going to save a lot of time for sure. So this is the third test case. It is going to take the new item that it just created and the new vendor that it just created, so that the linking of test cases can happen. All right. So keep looking at the vendor ID and the item ID that it's going to take. So it's going to create a new purchase order. It should take the new vendor account because we used a variable there. Cool. So you can see it is using the new vendor account that it just created. So this is how the linking of test cases will happen. It is also using the new item number that it just created. All right, so the third test plan also executed successfully without any issues. So guys, hopefully you got the idea of how to use the test cases, how to link the test cases. And there are a few other scenarios, but I think I've covered each and everything. If you click on upload, so what it's going to do is it's going to upload the test execution and parameter files back to the Azure DevOps along with these recordings. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And there is a new feature which is called, it's not a new feature, basically it's a new thing which is called create a derived test case, which means it will create, let me click here and let me say new derived test case. It's going to create a derived test case, and we can see. So basically what a derived test case is, it's exactly same. There are no execution files, only the parameters are different. So that is all. Let me say I want to create an item, but with 7 or 8 variables. So I can create one test case and I can create 7 or 8 test cases, 7 or 8 different parameter files. So basically all these three derived cases are nothing but the same cases just as above, but I just want to run them with different sets of parameters. So that is all. So if you want to run one test case 4 to 5 times with 4 to 5 new values, you can simply click on create derived test cases, and that is all you have to do. So I guess this was a good session for you guys. I tried to cover as much as possible along with the issues that I faced in recent months. Hopefully you learn a lot, especially how to use the RSET in the real-time environment. So thank you very much. Still, if you have any kind of questions and comments, please feel free to ask me. All right. Thank you.